This dirty-looking $1 presidential dollar could be worth far more than $1. In fact, some rare examples have sold for thousands, and a few extraordinary presidential dollar errors have brought in life-changing amounts of money. The shocking part: many of these coins look scratched, worn, discolored, or even damaged at first glance, causing people to spend them without realizing what they had. Tonight, we are counting down 5 presidential $1 coins that collectors desperately search for. Some hide rare minting mistakes. Others have unusual features that can turn ordinary pocket change into a serious payday. Before you spend another dollar coin, make sure you watch every second, because one of these coins could be sitting in a drawer, coin jar, or even your pocket right now. First coin: when most people see a James Madison presidential dollar, they barely give it a second look. It gets tossed into a coin jar, dropped into a vending machine, or forgotten in the bottom of a drawer. After all, it's only a $1 coin, right? That's exactly why some incredibly valuable examples continue to hide in plain sight. The James Madison presidential dollar was released as part of the Presidential Dollar Program and honors the 4th President of the United States, a founding father often called the father of the Constitution. Millions of these coins were produced, and at first glance they all appear nearly identical. But collectors know that certain James Madison dollars can be worth far more than face value, especially when they contain rare mistakes or unusual features. One of the biggest reasons collectors search through piles of presidential dollars is because of the famous edge lettering process used on these coins. Unlike most American coins, the date, mint mark, and national mottos were placed on the edge rather than on the front or back. This created opportunities for mistakes that transformed ordinary dollar coins into collector treasures. Imagine finding a James Madison dollar that looks a little odd. Maybe you've noticed that the edge appears smooth. Maybe the lettering seems missing. Many people assume the coin is damaged from years of circulation. In reality, that strange appearance could be the very reason collectors are willing to pay serious money for it. The first thing to check is the edge of the coin. Hold the coin sideways under a bright light and slowly rotate it. You should see lettering around the edge. If the edge lettering is completely missing and the coin appears otherwise normal, you could be looking at a valuable mint error. These missing edge lettering examples are among the most famous presidential dollar varieties ever discovered. What's fascinating is that many people overlook them because they don't know the lettering is supposed to be there in the first place. They simply assume the coin is worn or damaged. Yet collectors immediately recognize the significance. A genuine missing edge lettering James Madison dollar can command a substantial premium compared to a standard circulating example. Another clue that excites collectors is doubled or partially impressed edge lettering. Sometimes the coin passed through the edge lettering process incorrectly, creating unusual patterns that stand out under magnification. To the average person, the coin may appear scratched or defective. To a collector, it may represent a highly desirable mint mistake. Then there are coins that develop an unusual appearance from the minting process itself. Some show dramatic color differences, odd surfaces, or striking irregularities that make them stand apart from normal examples. While many forms of damage reduce value, certain mint-created abnormalities can do exactly the opposite. This is why experienced collectors always advise people not to dismiss a presidential dollar simply because it looks ugly. Some of the most valuable examples discovered over the years were originally mistaken for damaged coins. Their owners nearly spent them before learning what they actually had. The James Madison dollar also benefits from strong collector interest because it represents a well-known historical figure. Madison played a critical role in shaping the United States, and many collectors attempt to build complete presidential dollar sets. Whenever collectors build complete sets, demand increases for unusual varieties and error coins associated with each president. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. Many valuable examples were found not in coin shops or auctions, but in everyday circulation. People discovered them in bank rolls, cash register drawers, and pocket change. Imagine receiving a dollar coin in change, noticing something unusual about the edge, and later discovering that collectors are eager to buy examples like it. If you're checking your own coins, focus on a few simple clues. First, inspect the edge. Look for missing lettering, partial lettering, or unusual impressions. Second, examine the surfaces for anything that appears unusual but not obviously caused by damage after leaving the mint. Third, compare your coin with a normal example if possible. Differences often become much easier to spot when two coins are side by side. Many collectors use a magnifying glass or a simple coin loupe. You don't need expensive equipment. Sometimes the most important clues can be seen with nothing more than good lighting and patience. The key is paying attention to details that most people ignore. Another reason these coins continue to generate excitement is that presidential dollars are still relatively modern. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s that disappeared generations ago, many presidential dollars remain hidden in collections, jars, and forgotten containers across America. That means discoveries are still possible. Of course, not every James Madison dollar is worth a fortune. Most are common and worth only face value. But that's what makes the hunt so thrilling. You never know when a coin that looks ordinary or even damaged might turn out to be something special. Collectors often say the difference between a $1 coin and a valuable collectible can be a tiny detail that most people never notice. In the case of the James Madison presidential dollar, that detail is frequently found right on the edge of the coin, next coin on our countdown may be one of the most overlooked treasures in the entire presidential dollar series. At first glance, the George Washington presidential dollar looks like nothing more than an ordinary $1 coin. Millions were produced, millions entered circulation, and countless examples have been tossed into jars, drawers, and pockets across America. But hidden among those ordinary-looking coins are some of the most famous and valuable modern coin errors ever discovered. What makes this story so fascinating is that many of the most valuable George Washington dollars didn't look special at all. In fact, some appeared defective, unfinished, or even damaged. People who didn't know what they were looking at often spent them without a second thought. Meanwhile, collectors across the country began searching desperately for these unusual coins, driving values far beyond the coin's $1 face value. The George Washington presidential dollar was the very first coin released in the presidential dollar program. Because it launched the series, collectors paid close attention from the beginning. That attention quickly paid off when an extraordinary mint error started appearing in circulation. Imagine receiving a George Washington dollar in your change and noticing that something seems missing. The coin looks normal on the front. It looks normal on the back. But when you inspect the edge, there's no lettering at all. Most people would assume the coin was worn down or damaged after leaving the mint. In reality, this missing feature became one of the most famous modern coin errors in American history. The edge of a normal George Washington presidential dollar should contain important inscriptions, including the date, mint mark, and national mottos. During production, some coins somehow skipped the edge lettering process entirely. The result was a coin with a completely blank edge. Collectors quickly gave these coins a memorable nickname. Because important inscriptions were missing, they became known as godless dollars. The nickname spread rapidly through the coin collecting community and attracted enormous attention. Suddenly, people everywhere were examining their dollar coins, hoping to find one of these rare mistakes. What's remarkable is that many of these valuable coins were discovered by ordinary people. Some were found in pocket change. Others appeared in bank rolls. A few sat unnoticed for months before their owners realized they might have something special. As news spread, excitement exploded. Collectors rushed to obtain examples, and prices climbed dramatically. Some of the earliest discoveries sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and collector demand. Imagine finding a $1 coin in circulation and learning it could be worth hundreds of times its face value. The story doesn't end there. The George Washington dollar also produced other unusual edge lettering errors that continue to attract collector interest today. Some coins received weak lettering. Others showed partial lettering. A few displayed doubled impressions that created unusual patterns around the edge. To an untrained eye, these oddities may simply look like scratches or manufacturing defects. But experienced collectors know that mint-created errors often tell an important story. Every mistake represents a moment during production when something happened differently than intended. One reason these coins remain popular is that they are easy for beginners to check. You don't need advanced equipment or years of experience. Simply hold the coin on its side and inspect the edge carefully. If something appears unusual, it may be worth investigating further. Many collectors still search through rolls of presidential dollars specifically hoping to find George Washington varieties. Even years after their release, the excitement surrounding these coins has never completely disappeared. That's because discoveries continue to happen. Think about how many George Washington dollars remain hidden in old jars and forgotten collections. Millions of Americans received these coins when they were first released. Many people stored them away and never examined them closely. Somewhere among those forgotten coins could be examples with valuable errors waiting to be rediscovered. The historical importance of George Washington also adds to the appeal. As the first president of the United States, Washington remains one of the most recognizable figures in American history. His place at the beginning of the presidential dollar program gives these coins special significance for collectors building complete sets. When collectors assemble a presidential dollar collection, they often pay extra attention to the George Washington issue because it started everything. That increased attention naturally creates stronger demand for interesting varieties and mint errors associated with the coin. If you happen to own a George Washington presidential dollar, there are several simple things you should check. First, inspect the edge lettering carefully. Make sure the inscriptions are present and complete. Second, look for any unusual spacing, doubling, or missing sections. Third, compare your coin with a known normal example whenever possible. Lighting can make a huge difference. A bright lamp often reveals details that are difficult to see under ordinary room lighting. Slowly rotate the coin and inspect every part of the edge. Sometimes the most important clue is hidden in a small area that most people overlook. One of the greatest lessons from the George Washington dollar is that valuable coins don't always look beautiful. Some collectors imagine that rare coins must be shiny, flawless, and perfectly preserved. The reality is often very different. Certain errors become valuable precisely because they look unusual. A coin that appears defective to one person may appear extraordinary to a collector. That's why experienced coin hunters never dismiss a coin simply because it looks strange. Sometimes strange is exactly what makes it valuable. The George Washington presidential dollar transformed the way many people viewed modern coins. Before these famous errors appeared, countless Americans assumed valuable coins only came from distant decades or centuries past. Suddenly, people realized that modern pocket change could contain hidden treasures as well. That realization sparked a wave of interest in coin collecting that continues today. People began checking not only presidential dollars but also quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies for unusual features. The thrill of discovery became part of everyday life. And that's exactly why the George Washington presidential dollar deserves a prominent place on this list. It proved that an ordinary-looking $1 coin could become one of the most talked-about modern collectibles in America. What appeared to be a simple dollar sometimes turned out to be a remarkable mint error hiding in plain sight. So before you spend a George Washington presidential dollar, take a few moments to inspect it carefully. Look at the edge. Next coin. As we move deeper into our countdown, we arrive at a presidential dollar that many people overlook completely. The Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollar often sits unnoticed in coin jars, forgotten collections, and old drawers where it is mistaken for nothing more than a common dollar coin. Many examples look dull, scratched, discolored, or heavily circulated. Some appear so ordinary that people spend them without giving them a second glance. But that can be a costly mistake. Among the millions of Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollars produced by the United States Mint are examples that have captured the attention of collectors for years. Certain varieties and mint errors have transformed what appears to be an ordinary dollar into a highly desirable collectible. The surprising part is that many of these valuable coins don't immediately stand out. In fact, some look exactly like the kind of coin most people would ignore. Ulysses S. Grant was the 18th President of the United States and one of the most important military leaders in American history. His image appears on this presidential dollar as part of the Presidential Dollar Program, a series that encouraged Americans to learn more about the nation's presidents while introducing new collectible coins into circulation. When the Grant dollar was released, millions entered the banking system. People received them from banks, vending machines, post offices, and cash transactions. Many were quickly stored away, while others circulated heavily and developed the scratches and wear that collectors often associate with ordinary pocket change. However, experienced collectors understand something important. A coin's appearance alone does not determine its value. One of the first things serious collectors check on a Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollar is the edge. Like other presidential dollars, the date, mint mark, and inscriptions were placed on the edge rather than on the front or back. This unusual design feature created opportunities for minting mistakes that continue to attract attention today. Imagine finding a Grant dollar that appears slightly unusual. Perhaps the edge lettering looks weak. Maybe part of the lettering seems missing. Maybe the inscriptions appear doubled or misaligned. To someone unfamiliar with presidential dollars, these details may seem insignificant. To a collector, they can be extremely important clues. The edge lettering process was separate from the main striking process. Because of that, errors occasionally occurred. Some coins received incomplete lettering. Others received distorted lettering. A small number displayed unusual characteristics that immediately caught the attention of specialists. Collectors love these coins because they represent genuine mistakes made during production. Every mint error tells a story about what happened during the manufacturing process. That's part of what makes error collecting so exciting. You're not simply collecting a coin, you're collecting a rare moment in minting history. The thrill of that discovery keeps collectors hunting. Think about how many Ulysses S. Grant dollars remain hidden across the country. Some sit in coffee cans. Others rest in dresser drawers. Many remain mixed into jars containing ordinary change. Every one of those locations represents a potential treasure hunt. One reason the Grant dollar remains appealing is that it belongs to a series already known for producing famous errors. Once collectors learned that presidential dollars could contain valuable mint mistakes, they began examining every issue in the series more closely. The Grant dollar naturally became part of that search. Another factor that drives collector interest is condition. While error coins often attract the most attention, exceptionally well-preserved examples can also command premiums. A coin that escaped heavy circulation and maintained its original appearance may be far more desirable than a heavily worn example. Yet here's the twist many viewers may not expect. Sometimes the ugly-looking coin turns out to be the more interesting discovery. Collectors frequently encounter coins that appear damaged at first glance. The surfaces may look unusual. The color may seem strange. The coin may display odd characteristics that cause most people to dismiss it. But after careful examination, some of those unusual features turn out to have originated at the mint rather than after the coin entered circulation. That distinction is critical. Damage that occurs after a coin leaves the mint usually reduces value. A genuine mint-created error, on the other hand, can increase value dramatically. Learning the difference is one of the most important skills any coin hunter can develop. The Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollar serves as a perfect example of why careful inspection matters. A quick glance may reveal nothing special. A closer look could uncover details that most people miss entirely. If you happen to find one of these coins, start by examining the edge. Rotate the coin slowly under bright lighting. Look for missing letters, weak impressions, doubled characters, or anything that seems unusual compared to normal examples. Even small differences can be worth further investigation. Next, inspect the surfaces. Search for unusual features that appear to have been created during manufacturing rather than through everyday wear. Compare the coin with photographs of standard examples whenever possible. The more familiar you become with normal coins, the easier it becomes to identify unusual ones. Many successful collectors follow a simple rule: never assume a strange-looking coin is worthless. History has proven that some of the most valuable discoveries began with a coin that appeared odd, defective, or unattractive. What one person viewed as damage, another recognized as a rare mint error. The Grant presidential dollar reminds us that hidden value often appears where people least expect it. That's what makes searching through coins so exciting. Every coin offers the possibility of discovery. Most will be ordinary. A few may be extraordinary. Next coin. As our countdown continues, we arrive at a presidential dollar that many people barely recognize when they find it in circulation. The William Henry Harrison presidential dollar often gets overlooked because it appears so ordinary. It may be scratched from years of use, covered with fingerprints, dulled by age, or sitting forgotten in a coin jar alongside countless other coins. Most people would never imagine that certain examples could attract serious attention from collectors. That assumption is exactly why some valuable discoveries continue to happen. William Henry Harrison holds a unique place in American history. He was the 9th President of the United States and served the shortest presidential term in American history. Because of his historical significance, his presidential dollar became an important part of the presidential dollar program. While millions of these coins were produced, collectors quickly learned that not all Harrison dollars were created equal. Like other coins in the presidential dollar series, the Harrison dollar features edge lettering rather than placing all inscriptions on the front or back. This distinctive design feature created opportunities for minting mistakes that have fascinated collectors ever since. At first glance, an unusual Harrison dollar may look damaged. The edge may appear incomplete. The lettering may seem weak. The coin may display characteristics that cause most people to assume something happened after it left the mint. But experienced collectors know that appearances can be deceiving. Some of the most desirable presidential dollar varieties were discovered because someone noticed something unusual and decided to investigate further rather than dismissing the coin as damaged. Imagine receiving a William Henry Harrison dollar in change and tossing it into a jar without looking at it. Months or years later, you decide to sort through your coins and notice that one of them looks different. Maybe the edge lettering appears incomplete. Maybe some of the inscriptions are difficult to read. Maybe the coin displays unusual characteristics that separate it from the others. That moment of curiosity is often where valuable discoveries begin. Collectors have spent years searching presidential dollars for edge lettering errors, striking abnormalities, and unusual mint-produced characteristics. Because the Harrison dollar belongs to a series already famous for mint mistakes, every unusual example attracts attention. One reason these coins remain exciting is that they are relatively modern. Unlike rare coins from centuries ago, many presidential dollars still exist in places where ordinary people can find them. They sit in storage boxes, old piggy banks, dresser drawers, and forgotten collections throughout the country. Every one of those locations could contain a coin that has never been carefully examined. This possibility keeps collectors searching. The idea that a valuable coin might be hiding in plain sight is one of the most appealing aspects of coin collecting. You don't necessarily need to spend thousands of dollars at an auction. Sometimes discoveries come from coins that have been sitting unnoticed for years. The Harrison dollar perfectly illustrates this concept. Many people focus only on coins that appear shiny and flawless. They assume that scratches, discoloration, or unusual appearances automatically mean a coin has no value. Yet some of the most sought-after mint errors look strange from the very beginning. Their unusual appearance is precisely what makes them collectible. That's why experienced collectors always recommend taking a closer look before making assumptions. If you own a William Henry Harrison presidential dollar, start by examining the edge carefully. Rotate the coin under bright lighting and inspect every section. Look for missing lettering, weak lettering, doubled impressions, or anything that seems unusual compared with a normal example. Next, study the surfaces. Pay attention to features that appear unusual but may have originated during production. Learning to distinguish genuine mint-created characteristics from ordinary damage can make a tremendous difference. One of the reasons collectors enjoy searching presidential dollars is that the clues are often visible without expensive equipment. A simple magnifying glass and good lighting can reveal details that most people overlook. Patience and attention to detail are often more important than advanced tools. Another factor that contributes to the Harrison dollar's appeal is its place within a larger series. Many collectors attempt to build complete presidential dollar collections. As they search for every president represented in the program, they naturally become interested in unusual varieties and errors associated with each coin. That collector demand helps keep interest alive year after year. The fascinating thing about coin collecting is that value often comes from scarcity and uniqueness rather than age alone. A coin doesn't need to be hundreds of years old to become desirable. If a minting mistake created an unusual and limited variety, collectors may compete aggressively to acquire it. This reality surprises many newcomers. They expect valuable coins to be ancient treasures locked away in museums. Instead, they discover that modern coins can sometimes generate enormous excitement among collectors. The Harrison presidential dollar serves as a reminder that hidden treasures can exist in the most unexpected places. Think about how many people have handled these coins without examining them closely. Many entered circulation and passed through countless hands. Most were spent, saved, and forgotten. Yet among those ordinary coins, unusual examples continue to capture attention whenever they are discovered. That possibility is what makes every coin search exciting. Somewhere, a William Henry Harrison presidential dollar may be waiting in a drawer, a coin roll, or a collection that hasn't been examined in years. Its owner may not realize anything unusual about it. They may see only a scratched or worn dollar coin. A collector, however, might notice something entirely different. Next coin. We've reached the final coin in our countdown, and fittingly, it's a presidential dollar that many people overlook every single day. The James Polk presidential dollar may appear ordinary, worn, scratched, dirty, or even damaged after years of circulation. Most people see it as nothing more than a $1 coin. But collectors know that certain examples can be far more interesting than their appearance suggests. That's what makes this final coin such a perfect ending to our list. James Polk, the 17th President of the United States, served during one of the most significant periods of American expansion. His presidential dollar was released as part of the Presidential Dollar Program, a series designed to honor the nation's presidents while creating a collectible modern coin series. Millions of polk dollars were produced, and many entered circulation where they blended in with ordinary pocket change. Because so many were made, most people assume every polk dollar is common. And while many are worth only face value, some examples have attracted collector attention because of unusual mint-created characteristics and rare varieties that separate them from the rest. One of the first things knowledgeable collectors inspect on the James K. Polk presidential dollar is the edge. Like other coins in the presidential dollar series, important inscriptions were placed on the edge rather than the front or back. This unique production method created opportunities for mistakes that continue to interest collectors today. Imagine finding a polk dollar that looks slightly unusual. Maybe the edge lettering appears weak. Maybe part of the inscription seems missing. Maybe something about the lettering simply doesn't look right. To the average person, those details might seem unimportant. To a collector, they could be the beginning of an exciting discovery. Throughout the presidential dollar series, edge lettering errors became one of the most talked about collecting topics. Missing letters, partial letters, doubled letters, and other unusual edge characteristics transformed ordinary-looking coins into pieces that collectors actively searched for. The polk dollar became part of that ongoing hunt. What's remarkable is that many discoveries happened long after the coins were released. Some people stored away rolls of presidential dollars and didn't examine them until years later. Others found interesting examples mixed into loose change. A few collectors discovered unusual pieces simply because they decided to inspect every dollar coin they encountered. That's an important lesson for anyone interested in coin collecting. Valuable discoveries often begin with curiosity. Most people never look closely at their coins. Collectors do. That simple difference has led to countless discoveries over the years. The James K. Polk presidential dollar also reminds us that a coin's appearance can be misleading. Many valuable coins don't look valuable. They may be toned, discolored, scratched, or worn from circulation. Some even appear defective. Yet hidden beneath that ordinary appearance may be a characteristic that collectors find highly desirable. This is why experienced collectors never judge a coin solely by how attractive it looks. Instead, they focus on details. They examine edges. They compare lettering. They study unusual features. When it comes to presidential dollars, those details can make all the difference. Think about the countless polk dollars that remain tucked away in homes across America. Some sit in old coin collections. Others remain in jars filled with spare change. Many have probably not been examined closely since the day they were received. Every one of those coins represents a possibility. Most will be ordinary. A few may be extraordinary. That's the excitement that keeps collectors searching year after year. The polk dollar is especially appealing because it belongs to a series already known for producing fascinating mint errors. Once collectors realized that presidential dollars could contain unusual edge lettering mistakes and other production abnormalities, interest in the entire series increased dramatically. As a result, many collectors still search through presidential dollars hoping to find an overlooked treasure. If you happen to own a James K. Polk presidential dollar, there are a few simple things worth checking. First, inspect the edge carefully under bright light. Look for missing, weak, doubled, or unusual lettering. Second, compare the coin to a normal example whenever possible. Differences often become easier to recognize when viewed side by side. Third, pay attention to anything that appears unusual but may have originated during production rather than after the coin entered circulation. You don't need expensive tools. You don't need years of experience. Sometimes all it takes is patience and a willingness to look closely. Many of the most exciting discoveries in coin collecting happened because someone noticed a detail that everyone else ignored. That's what makes coin collecting so rewarding. Every coin carries a story. Most stories are ordinary. Some are remarkable. And occasionally, a coin that looks worn, scratched, dirty, or damaged turns out to be far more valuable than anyone expected. The James K. Polk presidential dollar captures that spirit perfectly. It reminds us that hidden treasures don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they hide behind an ordinary appearance, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. Thanks for watching.